HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language and is the foundation of websites. Now today in this video, we're going to look at making headings, paragraphs, images, and lists using HTML. But before we edit any code, I want to point out the very top left of the screen where it says index.html. It's important for us to recognize that the .html is just a file extension similar to .jpeg for images or .mp3 for music. And the index means that this page we're building is the main page of the website, often called the home page. The second thing I want us to look at is the area above and below the blue box here. Now this area is locked, meaning we will not be changing this code today, but I do want us to look at the format of HTML. I want us to look at these symbols here, the angle brackets I call them. It's the less than and greater than sign, and they're used all over HTML. On line 4, we see that these angle brackets are right before and after the word head. When these angle brackets come together with some code in the middle, that's called a tag. And when you put two tags together, you have an element. So check this out. We've got a head tag here on line 4, and then we've got a second head tag down here on line 6. The difference, of course, is this slash, the forward slash that's used in the closing tag, and these two together are an element. We can see a couple other elements on this page as well already, including the body element that starts on line 8 and ends on line 15, and the HTML element that starts on line 2 and ends down here on line 17. This will be important later on. Now the next thing I want us to do is actually start writing some code. So why don't we click right before the W in welcome, and let's add our own pair of angle brackets. Inside those brackets, I want to write the lowercase h and the number 1. H1 in HTML stands for heading 1. It's the largest heading on our website, usually used as a title for the most important text. Remember, tags come in pairs, so I've also got to add another set of angle brackets with a slash H1 to close this tag. You'll know you've got it right if the code is being highlighted. So if I click on my opening tag, the closing tag gets highlighted and vice versa. Now to see my work, I need to come over here to the bottom right-hand corner where I see the Run Code button. And when I click on that, the plain text Welcome to HTML becomes a bold heading. Perfect. The next thing we're going to do is try to make an H2 tag. Headings actually go all the way down to 6, H1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, each with progressively smaller headings. Let's take a look and see what this looks like. I'll make an H2. I'll call this the foundation of websites, and we'll close it with a slash H2 at the end. Remember, they have to match. So H2 has to match with H2, H1 has to match with H1. We'll hit the Run Code button again, and there it is, our subheading. Awesome. So now we're ready to add some real content to our website. And this is most commonly done using what's called the paragraph tag. So I'll hit the return key a few times, and I will make a new set of angle brackets, this time with the letter P. Notice there's no number in between the tags. It's just about the letter P this time, paragraph. If I wanted a second paragraph or a third paragraph, they would all simply be P tag. There is no numbers in paragraphs. Inside of this text, I'll have to write something so I can see my paragraph, like how about this is a sample paragraph, period. And when I run my code, sure enough, there it is, right under my headings. Now, in order to visualize a full paragraph, I'm not going to write it all out now, but what I will do is I'll paste in some common placeholder text called lorem ipsum. This is used by web developers all the time, just so that they can see what a paragraph would look like before they have the actual content. Now this is pretty nice. I now have a nice big block of content on my page, and what I'd actually like you to do is go ahead and copy the entire paragraph tag by selecting it. And then we're going to come down here a couple more lines and paste it, so we now have 2 paragraphs. And when I run my code, what you'll see here is the difference that we have 1 paragraph and then a nice margin and then a second paragraph. Now oftentimes beginners for HTML will get confused by the spacing, the white space specifically, in their HTML code, meaning that if I wanted these to have more space, some folks will actually hit the return key a bunch of times to give ourselves more space. But what you'll notice when I run code again is that actually has no effect on the output of HTML. HTML is not watching for white space at all. This is just formatting for humans to read the code. Computers are just taking their cues from these tags. So the paragraph tag in this case has a built-in margin, and that's where that space is coming from. Now we've got a great page with a lot of text on it, but I think to make this a bit more dynamic, I'd like to add an image to this page. Now, the image where I want it to show up on my website specifically is going to be below the opening tag, the opening heading, but before the subheading. So I'll need to find that spot in my code. For me, it happens to be the end of line 10, and hit return a couple times to create some space for my image tag. Remember, just like paragraphs, this space that I've created has absolutely no effect on my final output. I can run code and I will not see it budge at all. I come back over here in between my two tags, and I'm going to start with the image tag. Now the image tag is a little bit different than all the other tags so far, and to summon this tag, I'm actually going to start typing and look at that, as I'm typing an image, BSD Online automatically suggests the image tag. I can either hit enter, tab, or click on that tag, and you'll be able to see it. Right off the bat, you'll notice this is very different than other tags we've seen. First off, there's no closing tag this time. We only have one set of angle brackets. We do have a forward slash at the end, but there's certainly no closing image tag. That's okay, that's how this tag works. Now the second thing you'll notice is this little bit of text here that says SRC equals, and then a set of quotation marks. The SRC stands for source. And this type of code is called an attribute. It's actually not all that foreign. We see it a couple times right up here in our code, don't we? If we scroll up to look at the code that we had looked at the very beginning, we'll notice that we see this kind of orange equals green with the quotation marks. That pattern is seen throughout HTML, and we'll talk more about it in a later video. Now the third thing that you'll notice is when you've clicked inside an image tag, you get a little Choose Image dialog button. When I go ahead and click on that, I'm brought to my image gallery where I can use images that have been uploaded previously. In this case, I'm going to select this image. Perfect, there it is. And keep in mind that if you don't have any images in your library, you could always find the image path online from another website, copy that URL, and paste it here as well. So there's lots of ways to use the image tag. The last HTML element that I said we'd use today is the list. Now for the list, I'd like to put it in between these two paragraphs. So again, I'll have to scroll down in my code to find that space. I'm going to hit return a few more times to give myself room for the list. And then I'm going to start typing UL. Now UL stands for unordered list. We'll see what that means in just a moment. Look at what I do now. Inside the tag, instead of typing right away, I'm going to actually hit the return key a couple more times to give myself some space. That's because the UL tag on its own is not enough to make a list. We also need list item tags inside of it. In HTML, this is called nesting. So let's give this a try. I'll hit the tab key to indent my code. That helps me to read this later. And I'm going to type in LI for list item. I'll go ahead and click on that. Now if I write an item in here, like item 1, and run my code, look what happens. I've actually got a bulleted list starting now. That's pretty cool. And if I want more items to that, I'll actually have to copy this entire LI tag, and I'll put several more down here. We'll go list item 2, 3, and 4. And when I run code now, there it is. I've got a bulleted list. The cool thing about lists is that there's a lot of versatile ways to display your list, including if I wanted to change UL instead to OL. And if you remember, UL stood for unordered list, so OL should stand for ordered list. And sure enough, now my list is ordered. In case I want to rank items or maybe write instructions, there's lots of reasons why I would want to choose one or the other. There is so much more that HTML can do, and we will get to that and explore that in other videos. But for now, we've got the foundation that will allow us to build these really cool, stylish, informational websites that can demonstrate our learning and show our different coursework in your digital portfolio. And I can't wait to see what you build. Thanks.